Hello and welcome to another edition of As the Blade Turns. I am Dave Leese and this is the skating lesson. For those of you who are new here, please subscribe below and remember to smash that like button. Well, this morning, news broke that Diana Дэвис and Gleb Smolkin will be monitored on Thursday, June 30th in Montclair, New Jersey. On Monday, the team returned to training in Leesburg, Virginia, where they had been training through the week of June 17th under the tutelage of Alexei Kiliakov and Elena Novak. Diana and Gleb had previously trained under Igor Shpilband, but on June 13th, he confirmed to me via text message that he was no longer coaching the team. He did not respond to questions about which party initiated the split. According to accounts, Tutberidze had contacted several schools about taking on Diana and Gleb. When I contacted Romain Hagenauer about the tip that Дэвис and Smolkin had attempted to join the International Academy of Montreal, he replied that many couples in the circuit had approached them directly or indirectly. For confidentiality reasons, he could not confirm information about which skaters contacted them. He ended the message by emphasizing that IM cannot accept to work with figure skaters representing a banned nation. He also added that Дэвис and Smolkin are not a part of IM. The second part is more critical, as Diana Дэвис has dual citizenship due to being born in Las Vegas. In recent weeks, Diana and Gleb got choreography from Benoit Richaud at the Skating Club of Boston. They worked with Evgeny Platov in West Palm Beach. They had a lesson with Zach Donohue, and they also worked with Natalia Annenko at the Detroit Skating Club. Eteri Tutberidze has accompanied her daughter and new son-in-law at all training locations. On June 6th, Eteri Tutberidze was flying to Detroit from the Fort Lauderdale airport when she encountered a former professional figure skater and coach. I just happened to receive a text message from that skater at 10 past 5 p.m. that evening and encouraged him to approach the coach when he was at his gate. According to his contemporaneous account, Tutberidze was super nice but seemed upset. According to his messages, Tutberidze told him that Diana was going to skate for the USA. She told him that she wants to teach in the USA, but it's simply not possible. She said she has too many skaters and she can't bring them, but she wishes she could. She also commented that she didn't like Vladimir Putin. This was not the first account of Дэвис representing the United States that I had heard. Previously, I had several conversations with Coach Nikolai Morzov at the ice rink in Montclair, where he discussed how his daughter, Annabelle, has Russian, American, and French citizenship. He was exploring options after the March 1st ruling that the ISU would be banning Russia and Belarus from international competitions. He informed me that when he contacted the USFS about exploring those potential options, he was already informed that Tutberidze had done the same. Morozov told me that he would wait until the end of the ISU Congress to make a decision on his daughter's competitive future. According to accounts, Tutberidze has been friendly at ice rinks and has expressed to skaters that rinks have turned them away. According to an account by one skater, Tutberidze has claimed that her bank accounts have been frozen. Recently, Tutberidze posted on Instagram about sports bringing countries together. She also posted a video the next day at a gas station in Michigan and emphasized the colors red, white, and blue, which are also the colors of both Russia and the United States. The training center in Leesburg, Virginia, where Дэвис and Smolkin are currently training, is run by Alexei Kiliakov, who happens to be Eteri Tutberidze's former ice dance partner. The school, originally in Wheaton, Maryland, has dominated the junior, novice, and intermediate levels within the U.S. figure skating competitive circuit. This season, the school just missed earning a spot to the Olympics with Green and Parsons, yet they were able to capture gold at the Four Continents Championships. Green and Parsons trained alongside Дэвис and Smolkin through the week of June 17th, at which time Дэвис and Smolkin returned to Michigan, and Green and Parsons subsequently departed the training camp. The whereabouts of Green and Parsons remain unannounced. Figure skating fans were quick to comment about how Christina Carrera of Carrera and Ponomarenko has struggled to obtain U.S. citizenship. Surely Дэвис and Smolkin would suffer the same fate. Though there is a loophole. Diana Дэвis, like Anthony Ponomarenko, is a U.S. citizen. Christina Carrera was born in Canada. Like Дэвис and Smolkin, she did train in Michigan with Igor Shpilband for many years. she was not able to get citizenship in time for the 2022 Olympic Games. But Kristina and Anthony Ponomarenko are not married. On March 18th, just 17 days after the ISU banned Russia and Belarus from international competitions, Diana Дэвис and Gleb Smolkin were issued a marriage license in Clark County, Nevada. During this time, Дэвис and Smolkin switched from posting in Russian on Instagram to posting in English. They also spoke out against the war in public and were the only Russian skaters to do so. Eteri Tutberidze deleted all photos of herself with Vladimir Putin from her Instagram profile. She did not attend the pro-war rally against Ukraine, nor did her skaters, and she refused to fly the Zed at her Team Tutberidze ice shows. Tutberidze's apartment has also been speculated to have been listed for sale. The marriage between Дэвис and Smolkin means that Gleb Smolkin will be eligible for a U.S. passport in March 2025, paving the way for the duo to represent the United States at the 2026 Olympic Games. They will not need Gleb to be a citizen to represent the U.S. at the World Figure Skating Championships. Дэвис and Smolkin will have to sit out competition for 2 years unless they are released by the Russian Federation, in which case they would only have to sit out for 1. Дэвис had actually previously been released by the Russian Federation to represent Georgia in 2016. Now this is where things get interesting. Due to Russia being banned from the 2022 World Figure Skating Championships, Дэвис and Smolkin's last international competition was the 2022 Olympic Games in February 2022, meaning the team could compete internationally as early as the 2023 World Figure Skating Championships, which will be held in Japan. Fans have argued that they will have a tough time making the U.S. team with the likes of Chalk and Bates, Hawaii and Baker, Green and Parsons, Carrera and Ponomarenko, and the Browns. It is important to remember that Дэвис and Smolkin placed 14th at the Olympics. When taking the retirements, splits, and banned Russian teams into account, the USFS is inheriting a team ranked as high as 8th in that field. With Chalk and Bates only committing to 1 more season, and Green and Parsons being regarded as the future, I would consider Hawaii and Baker as being the most potentially vulnerable. Due to the health issues of Caitlin Hawaii and arguments made that they are terminally mismatched, there is a thought that it might be possible for the USFS to promote Дэвис and Smolkin, an already proven quantity with upward mobility, over a team which may have maxed out. The Russian media did their traditional gaslighting about the marriage after I reported the news on Twitter. Gleb Smolkin's father, actor Boris Smolkin, denied any knowledge of the union. However, the document is a public record, and Дэвис and Smolkin have worn rings on their ring fingers on their left hands in recent photos. Meanwhile, Tutberidze loyalists have begun changing their tunes regarding Дэвис and Smolkin representing the U.S. in recent weeks following an interview I gave with Sports.ru. Both Benoit Richaud and Alexander Julin are now supportive of them representing the U.S. While TASS and Match TV will frequently ask Russian figure skating officials for comments on my statements, who will subsequently call me unhinged or jealous American, they did not reach out for comments despite the interview being the lead story in the figure skating section of Sports.ru for 2 days and on the main site of Sports.ru for 24 hours. I will leave with the portion of the interview where Tutberidze was discussed. This interview took place on June 13th, 2022.
But your source that actually told you that they're thinking of joining. Thinking joining or joining, you said?
They were thinking of joining.
She was not saying about that in a positive, agreed way.
She was saying that this person was positive about Diana switching, not positive about herself switching.
Yeah. We're talking only about Diana. Because my question is that, Eteri has a reputation, obviously, in the States, and not a very nice one. Do you think that would affect Diana as possible part of?
Okay. People have debated this so much. This is like one of the biggest topics of conversation inside ice rinks, is whether or not Diana would be able to be successful. I believe that Diana would be able to be successful. I believe that Eteri is such a star in figure skating that Diana would generate so much attention that she would inevitably do well. That doesn't mean that people would like her or treat her well, but I believe that they are such big names in a sport that is reliant on star power that Diana would generate so much attention and focus that would take attention from other athletes that if she were to compete here, television would be talking about it all the time, newspapers would be writing about it. It would have so much attention that she would become a bigger star, perhaps, than other ice dancers. And in a sport as subjective as ice dance, it would be difficult for that not to influence how she actually performed. I believe that she could place in the top 3 here this year, were she be able to compete at US Nationals. I do think that she would be one of the top skaters in the US. Her coach, Igor Shpilband, has been very successful in the United States for a long time. He's certainly familiar with the world of ice dance, technically, politically. Yeah, I do think that Diana would be able to be successful. There are other people who disagree. I personally think that the amount of attention that Diana would receive representing the US would so outshine other skaters that she would inevitably achieve a positive result.
What if Gleb receives his passport before Christina Carrera?
Eteri was a better mother who was more willing to do what it, I mean, in the United States, Christina has not married Anthony. If Diana married Gleb, and they're already a couple,
yep,
it would be extremely controversial, but legally, it would be possible.
We don't even know, maybe they're already married. Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. And it's funny because there's a reputation that people go to Las Vegas for quickie weddings in the US, that there are chapels where you could get married very easily and very quickly. Married in Vegas, okay. Diana was just on vacation in Vegas. I mean, who knows? Anything is possible. So yes. I believe that Eteri will make sure that her daughter is successful in ice dance. There were far better ice dancers in Russia, but Diana got to the Olympics, and I predicted that she would get to the Olympics a year ahead of time, and everyone told me that I was crazy. Yes. Come on. Eteri at US Nationals would be the most entertaining thing for sports journalists here. It would bring so much attention back to skating. And think about it, someone who is being investigated by the FBI to have the temerity to have their daughter switch to that country. I mean, it's like robbing a bank and going to the bank again and to check out of the teller. I mean, it's a fascinating personality who do that. So,
have you been approached by Eteri or her people after you published that, by the way?
No.
So nobody from Russia actually gave you a call and say that's bullshit?
No.
Have you noticed actually that she said fake news only about her coaching? And Diana did not say no, but she said, oh, interesting. I mean, how you say connecting dots? That's what I'm doing. Dots.
Yes.
So this.
Eteri was very friendly at many ice rinks when she was here to people. And obviously, anytime that it's so fascinating. I think everyone in the United States is shocked that Eteri would have the temerity to come here when she is seen as the villain of figure skating, especially after the free skate at the Olympics, plus the situation with Kamila Valieva. I think that the situation with Kamila Valieva in ice rinks was a situation that has been discussed for many years. Whether, there are many coaches who have argued whether or not Eteri could come to the United States and make money. And there are other Russian coaches who will tell you, well, Dr. Shvetsky could not come to America, so Eteri would not be as successful here. And one thing that Russians may not understand is that the impact of Dr. Shvetsky and about doping practices in the past are discussed openly at ice rinks here. So especially with meldonium and other substances that have been taken, coaches will laugh about things that they were given as athletes in the 1990s or the 1980s, and it's all discussed very openly. And
do you, then there's a question, do you believe she could actually come and coach in the US? Will they allow that?
I've talked to WADA about this. Legally, she could come here and coach.
Yes, I know. But like in terms of, would any rink risk and invite her?
I believe that if Eteri wanted to coach here, there would be at least one ice rink that would say yes for the potential income. And parents would absolutely pay for their kids to be coached by Eteri. That doesn't mean that she would have successful champions here, but I believe that she could make a substantial income if she came and wanted to coach here. The reason people do not believe Eteri could be coached here is about safe sport and training methods. And what would inevitably happen is if Eteri did not adjust the way that she coaches her athletes.
That was my question, yeah.
Parents would file something called a safe sport report or potentially sue her. And the difference here is that once a parent became upset by how Eteri treated their child, they could take legal action against her. And it does happen here. It doesn't happen always effectively, but I think you could see in gymnastics, there are coaches who are continually having legal charges brought up against them, are safe sport claims. Figure skating is slightly behind in terms of litigating coaches because it's more individual, but she would have to adjust her training methods. And Eteri is more of a coach manager than a technical coach. No, she's a brilliant manager. But it's very different because in Russia, they tend to have head coaches who have, Daniil Gleikenhaus is a choreographer, Sergei Dudikov is a jump coach, and they work together. In the United States, it's more one coach does everything. And if Eteri came here without her other coaches, they wouldn't be as successful. My coach Galina worked with Valentin Nikolaev in Ukraine. He was largely responsible for the jumps, but Galina was the head coach. Like Eteri, they also had choreographers. When she came here, she did not have the same pipeline of champions that she had in the Soviet Union because she didn't have the same system set up here. So I think that Eteri could come to the US and coach, but the system would have to be different. She would need a jump coach or Sergei Dudikov to follow her. And I think there would be other challenges.
I wanted to add one postscript. On June 16th, I began to reach out to find out what Eteri Tutberidze would legally need to actually coach here. I talked to one club president and I asked, what would Eteri need to coach here, legally? Safe sport training and PSA dues? I mean, there are many problematic ice dance coaches who work in the US. And does it depend on whether or not the rink would take a liability and public relations hit? This club president responded, she only needs whatever the rink she works at requires. It's not until she goes to a USFS-sanctioned event that any of our requirements would take effect. I then added, would safe sport prevent it, or is it just training? I don't see the problem. She has not been charged with anything other than being an abusive coach. And every other coach I know isn't necessarily that much better. This is where the person responded, Safe Sport would not be involved unless she is actually covered by Safe Sport. Eteri wouldn't be covered by Safe Sport unless she joins US figure skating. She is like Nikolai Morozov with breasts. This is really interesting, as Morozov does not necessarily have full USFS membership. When Jimmy Ma trained with Nikolai Morozov, he would actually have the Canes put him on a competition before eventually switching to them. As to whether or not people would actually send their kids to Tutberidze, this person said, I mean, many moms sent kids to Callahan after the 1999 article. Nothing has changed. She also added that the PSA doesn't actually sell liability insurance anymore. Tutberidze could join the PSA if she wants. she would have to pay dues. Now, one interesting thing is about liability insurance is that not every rink actually requires it. I actually skate at a rink on Sundays where Andrew Laverick, who is currently suspended by US Figure Skating, teaches students. He currently teaches students who are technically not USFS members. So there are loopholes here, and it really depends on which rink would take the hit about taking Eteri Tutberidze. Another interesting thing is that not all coaches even accept Venmo. There are coaches who only accept cash. So even if Tutberidze did coach here, there would not necessarily be a record. Well, it's more to think about and many things to discuss in the upcoming days. Thank you, and good night.